Hello, hello. Quick video on centering. Not quite in the center, but not bad. I can push it just a little bit, sliding it slowly. Get it about where I want it. Give it a couple of hard hits. Okay, get my bag of clay. It will not go so well. And then I can do a little bit to further center it, pushing down and in, creating a key to me to help attach it to the wheel. Wet my hands, wet the piece. Now I'm going to be using the heel of my palm, pushing inward to the very center, and using my arm as force. It's not about what I do with my wrist or my hand too much. It's the pressure coming from this point by having my arm push inward. I brace my elbow into my hip so that I can use my body weight to push forward. Some people like to have their arm resting on their leg. In any case, you want it to be supported. The right hand will come down on the top in a karate chop with a fair amount of force, and as you see, my elbow is supported, or just beyond my elbow, is supported on my leg. You can start off a little bit slow. I keep my hand down at the wheel. Again, pushing in towards center and from the top. Start off slow, building up speed and pushing in. Connecting the two hands by putting the right thumb over to the left hand. Pick up speed and go to moderate fast speed, pushing in really hard and holding it there. It's almost already centered. Hands are moving a little bit. You're aiming for stillness, and when you get it, hold it. And release gradually. That's almost workable right now. However, I'm going to demonstrate coning up and coning down to further center the center of the clay mound and help with uniformity in the event you had, perhaps your clay was sitting out and it hardened on the outside just a touch, or you're working with some reclaim where some of it's a little more firm and some of it's a little more soft and you want to blend it more. Coning is helpful. So for this, we're using the heel of our palms again, pushing inward and downward and wrapping your hands around it. Inward and downward, wrapping your hands. The clay will have nowhere to go but up. It helps to cap it with the left thumb as well. Okay. Load it. Now, we're capturing it, same position that you used in the very beginning. Left arm supported, using the heel of your palm, going into the very center. Right hand coming down across the very center. Equal force going down as there is going in. You're going to capture that clay. Feels pretty centered. I'm gonna do that one more time. I find it helpful to have my heart over the center. Left hand down to the wheel head. And hold it. And slowly release. Feels pretty good. Maybe some slight movement. Pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to open up. I like to use my thumb. You could use finger, 2 fingers, hot dog method. It is up to you. The thumb I feel is a nice start because it's a little less strain. Another tip would be to keep the top moist. If it starts to get dry, stop, add a little more water, go again, add a little more water, go again. Seasoned potters often don't stop, but that takes a lot more strength. So if you're starting out, I would suggest adding the water. You'll reach a point where you can lift to let the water drop back in. Lift to let it back in, or add a little more. Okay. When you feel like you're about there, you can then go in with your index finger on the other hand, right hand, to go further down. You kind of want to come in at an angle here. To continue down, the goal would be to have about a 1/4 inch at the bottom. I like to aim for the sense of it being level with the top of my pinky finger, which is on the outside, resting on the outside here. When you feel like you're about there, I'm going to stop. You can check it. Take a needle tool, stop the wheel, poke it in, reach your finger down to that point. Well, that was pretty thick. I can go a little further. Just a little further. Press that closed, go a little further. There we go. Okay. Now we're ready to open up. We've centered, we dropped in. Now we're going to open up. To open up, you could pull toward you, towards 6 o'clock, or to the side at 3 o'clock. If you're left-handed, you're going to 9 o'clock. You may want to experiment to see which you're most comfortable with. You're dropping down to a medium speed. Remember, you can gather slip from the wheel. Doesn't have to be straight from the bowl. I like pulling to 6 o'clock. Personally, it feels like a little less stress. Can sort of lock in. Notice my left thumb is over this hand, which is just resting. It's not applying any pressure to the inside now. It's just resting. But these two are forming a unit to help keep my right hand steady. What I'm going to be doing with this unit is pulling straight across the bottom. I don't want to dig in any further. I just want to have it right over the bottom and pull back toward you at an even rate to open up. Again, about a medium speed, fairly slowly. If it starts to get dry, Wet your hand, add a little more water. When you're there, compress the bottom by going from the center to 3 o'clock and back until it feels smooth to you. Sometimes people like to add the spiral. It's all personal. Sometimes it's helpful to dig in just a little bit under that so you'll be able to capture some clay to lift. All right, so now compress the rim and we're ready to start a first pull. We have a couple of options here. One would be to create a tunnel pull. That's where you're hooking your thumb over. Remember, this hand is still just resting lightly on the outside. These two fingers come in to capture the clay. You lock in place and you pull up and toward the center a bit. That's especially helpful if you feel like it's the least bit off center. Or you could begin with just a standard pull over on the side. I personally pull somewhere around 4 o'clock. 3 o'clock would be the most, but 4 o'clock is usually optimum for me. I'm gonna do the tunnel pull. Going up and inward toward the center a bit, all the way up until that finger releases from the inside. Compress the rim. Okay, after the first pull, it may be helpful, or it is helpful, take a wet sponge in your right hand. You're not gonna pull with it, or at least most people don't. Some people do. If you prefer to, that's okay. But usually it's helpful to just hold it in your left hand so you can squeeze it to add water as needed. Another thing you can do at the very beginning before you start, put either finger of your first two fingers on, touching lightly on the sides, and drizzle some water down the sides that way. Again, holding this in the hand. I like to use knuckle. Some people prefer to use fingers, 3 fingers on the outside, kind of capturing a bead and pulling up. And again, some people use the sponge. It is up to you. I personally like using the knuckle and using somewhat this part, or even this part, but no, more this part to pull up. Not digging the knuckle in, but holding it somewhat parallel to the pot and in a little bit. These fingers are in and up above it a little bit. And you're going to be connecting the hands, holding those in place, and pulling up toward the middle some at an angle towards your nose. So here goes. You're going to have a little bit of a groove at the bottom. Sometimes you may have to form one with your finger so you can gather some clay. Apply pressure from the inside to capture, from the outside a little to capture, and when you have some clay gathered, pulling upward and toward the center. It's important to try to keep an even pace with the speed of the wheel. Too fast and you create a tornado. Too slow and you'll dig through. takes practice. Go all the way up to the top, releasing pressure just a little as you leave the rim of the wheel. Compress the rim. That was a pretty decent first real pull. Okay. Add water. Get your sponge ready. I'm supporting my arms with by having my elbows in up to my body. Gathering my clay. Pulling up. I'm not letting the clay move me. As much as I can help it, at least. It does help to lock in those elbows. And remember that you are the boss, not the clay. As you get to the very top, release slowly. Compress the rim. Here we go again, gathering more from the bottom. Connecting the hands when you can to keep them a little more steady, creating one unit. If it feels thin, you're going to glide over, you're not going to add pressure. Compress. That's pretty good. I might add one more pull because there's a fair amount at the bottom. When you're making a tall cylinder, and you're going for those last pulls, if it's narrow, the hand will tend to widen it at some point. I'm gonna grab my sponge on a stick. This is a helpful gadget. You can buy commercially made ones, or you can make your own. I used a bamboo skewer, but you could use a chopstick or twig or paintbrush handle or pencil. I put a dab of Eileen ceramic glue at the end. You could use E6000 or an epoxy. Wrap your sponge around it and then tie it at the base with some wire, or I used a sandwich tie or red tie. Okay, so I've gotten the bulk of that. A little on the sides there, that's okay. Because now I'm ready to do some shaping. Many potters say to shape only by adding pressure from the inside. Some say, hey, go ahead and do one shaping pull. I like to do a shaping pull. I just do. I was at a medium speed. It probably would have been good to slow that way down. Certainly when you're applying pressure from the inside, you want to slow down. Okay. I think I want to change this up a little bit. I want to add some pressure here. Let's see what happens with the shape of this mug. The rim could be a little bit bigger too. It's a bit of a tanker. I'm going to add more width at the bottom. Okay. Now I'm going to take my metal rib. Get a bit of pressure to the bottom there, just shape that in. Slow it down. I'm going to take the straight edge so I can get this point to bring it right down to that. Clean it up a little bit. There we go. I'm digging this shape a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot. Okay. I do want to create a little bit of a lip. It's gonna be a thick, heavy pot though. The walls are not too thick, but not thin. When you have a large pot like this, it helps to make the walls thin to reduce weight. But that's okay. It might be a gift from my husband. He's strong. All right. Cleaning up the residual water on the inside. There we go. Now, do a little cleanup with the metal rid. Taco this always catch a little bit to smooth it out. No sharp edges. And smoothing at the bottom as well. Clean up the wheel. Clean off your hands. I'm going to shade the rim just a little bit. All right. Now, ready to cut it off. Holding the wire like this, pushing down all the way to the wheel head. I'm gonna pull it toward me slowly. There we go. Not too slowly, but not so fast that I panic and pull upward. Because if you pull upward, you cut it at an angle. And there we go. So I gently touch it on either side. You can rock it back and forth a little bit to release and then lift off. And there we go. I like it.